Stu Meyer from the Horn, KTXXFM Austin. First of all, congratulations, Shibata-san.
Thank you very much.
Just talk about what it meant to go through a pure match where you had all the rules and the different things, and to come out on top with the pure title.
そのピュアタイトルマッチっていうそのルールとして違うマッチとしてなんですけど、それをまず戦ったご感想と、あとそれで勝ったっていうそれについてのご感想。
これ出てますね。
Yeah, it's good. Your mic's easy on.
Maybe this is my rule. Yeah. Head injury after. This is my rule. Yeah.
Absolutely.
自分のルールだと思ってます。
So I mean, to him, this champion belt means the rule to him.
ちょうどぴったり。
So yeah, this pure championship matches his style and his character.
It's a perfect fit.
Hello, Amy Nemedy with WrestleJoy. I've noticed you've wrestled 4 matches since your return. So this is a very big moment for someone like Wheeler Yuta. I was curious as to what your thoughts are on Wheeler Yuta before the match, heading into it, and what your thoughts are on him afterwards. Thank you so
復
much.
帰してから4戦ほど戦ってると思うんですけど、今回そうしてウィーラーに勝ってに勝利を収めたんですけど、ここまで来るんですけど、その考えというかどういった
これも日本語でいいですか。
大丈夫です。
今日このベルトを取ったことによって柴田の海外遠征が始まりました。
So by winning this championship today, he feels like he's excursion is maybe a good word for veteran like Shibata, but maybe his resurgence in the US started. Yeah, by winning this championship today. That's what he feels like going through everything. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Makes
yes, yes. Thank you. Thank
Makes
you.
great sense.
And congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm John Moore with ProWrestling.net. Again, not only congratulations for the title, but congratulations for like a successful comeback.
まずベルトを買ったことだけじゃなくて、まず復帰できたことにおめでとうございます。
Thank you very much.
You've had several really solid matches under your belt. What kind of things are you doing differently with your conditioning, your wrestling style, in order to continue to do this at a high level?
その自分のそのレベルを高くするために、そのコンディションのツーニングだったりとか、その体力づくりとかそういった面で何か違ったことは試してるんですか？
今日すごいコンディションを毎日気にして毎日コンディションをキープしてきたんですけど、昨日飛行機が飛ばなくてセントルイスから帰れなかった。
For today's match, he tried to kind of keep his condition at his maximum level, but yesterday he had an accident. He had a canceled flight at St. Louis, so he was stuck in St. Louis.
で、今日の昼に LA に着いて、
そ
のままコスチュームだけ取って会場。
So he arrived in LA today afternoon. So he just grabbed his gear and he directly came to this arena.
But no problem.
But that wasn't. That didn't affect him at
No
all.
problem. Yeah.
Because his condition is so good.
It's great.
Shibata, Connor Casey from comicbook.com. There's a former champion who's pretty synonymous with that title by the name of Bryan Danielson. Do you have any interest in defending the title against him in the future?
Also, what was your question again? Former title holder for this belt was Bryan Danielson, and what was your question?
Yes, if he had interest in facing Bryan Danielson.
ブライアン・ダニエルさんと戦いたいっていう気持ちはありますか？
これを取ったことによってブライアン・ダニエルソン戦が近づいたと思っております。
So by winning this title, he feels like he got one step closer to making the chance to wrestle Bryan Danielson closer. Yeah, that's what he feels like by winning this belt. he got one step closer to wrestling Brian Danielson. Yes.
Step by step.
Very good.
All right, here in the back, Will.
Will Washington, Fightful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I guess this question can kind of be answered by Tony as well. So 2 of your last 3 matches were under TonyCon, one on an episode of AEW Rampage, and again tonight here at Supercard of Honor. And now that you're the pure champion, that kind of lends itself to a bit of a commitment. Are you under any sort of deal long term with Tony? And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that you're a Ring of Honor here, but in that case, is there any sort of long-term deal in this case, or is it a per-day basis?
まず、復帰してから参戦したうちの2つが、ROH だったり AEW というそのトニカンの下で、トニカンのためにレスリングをしたということになるわけですけど、そしてこのピアチャンピオンベルトを取ったことで、なんていうか、AEW や ROH と今後長期の契約とか、なんていうか、レスリングをしていくおつもりはあるんですかという。Of course, yeah, I mean,
Of course.
But he didn't make any deal at this moment. But he wants to keep wrestling for Tony Khan.
I think we're not to speak for Shibata-san, we really enjoy working together. We have been taking it on a match-by-match basis as part of a greater relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW, which is a big relationship. It's so big, it's extended into Forbidden Door 2 coming this summer, and it's extended into great partnerships and great moments like tonight, which working with you again and this moment tonight to have Shibata-san win the Ring of Honor Pure Championship tonight in Los Angeles in front of such a great crowd, and an amazing match against one of our best young wrestlers, Wheeler Yuta, who's a 2-time champion. It's historic, and so it's a great partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's resulted in many great moments, and I believe this is one of the greatest moments that I've had to be able to sit here in front of you with this great champion. Thank you.
Congratulations, Shibata.
Thank you.
Nick Hausman, House of Wrestling. I was just wondering, since you've obviously spent so much time in New Japan, now you're over here in the States, is there anything that you've learned working with Ring of Honor and Tony that you'd like to see New Japan instituting? Is there anything you'd like to see from New Japan's end, any traditions or customs or whatever brought over to Ring of Honor and AEW?
例えば、新日本の選手という立場でありながら今アメリカにいて、これで ROH とかために戦ってるんですけど、例えばなんでしょう、お互い持ち帰れるというか、ものってあったりするんですか？
いや、これは自分の挑戦でもあるし。
So he's doing. I mean, of course, he's from New Japan, but he rests a lot. Wrestles a lot in here because he wants to challenge himself.
あとやっぱりコロナでやっぱり新日本というのは小さくなってしまった。
And because of the pandemic, the crowd kind of went silent and very small in Japan for New Japan crowd too.
もっと視野を広げる必要があると。
So I mean, so staying there is not good. So he wants to get his view kind of wider. So he wants to wrestle at many places. So he has a wider view.
それと自分がやろうとしていることがちょうど
Then what he is going to, then what he wants to challenge to do in the future, what he wants to do matches exactly with what Tony Khan is doing right here. So that's why he's wrestling here.
あとここのリング AW ROH 夢がある。
Oh, and like he's saying, like in here, in AW ring or in ROH ring, there is a big dream in there. Yeah.
レスラーは夢を見せる仕事だっていうのを自分で体現していきたい。それができる場所。
Yeah, the wrestler's job is showing the dreams to the fans. So yeah, So he wrestled here because this is where he can make that dream come true. Yeah, to show the dream to the fans.
あと私から言いたいのは怪我の心配をよくされるんですけど、これは俺は死にに行くわけじゃなくて生きるためにレスリングを続けている。
So he keeps wrestling after his big injury. So many fans worried about his injury and his condition, but he still keeps wrestling not to kill himself or die in the ring, but I mean, not to do that, but he keeps wrestling to keep living his life.
生きるためにプロレスをやっている。
So that's why he keeps wrestling, yeah, even after big injury or yeah, in a tough condition like this.
It's awesome. It's so good. It's the best answer.
Sorry, my translation
It was
might
very
be
good.
a
It was
little
very
weird,
good.
but yeah,
No, it's very good now. It was
Yeah.
very good.
Thanks.
Very good.
Any final questions?
I would like to add, if I may, very excited. As we were talking before we came in here, of course, we have the new champion this week. AEW, of course, coming on Wednesday to New York, and AEW will be in Rhode Island, in New England, Kingston, Rhode Island, to be specific. On Friday, there will also be a big Ring of Honor presence. We'll be filming Ring of Honor next week, and I'm very excited that we have the pure champion, Mr. Shibata. Shibata-san will be with us next week, along with the crew. Very excited to have Shibata with AEW next week, which is so awesome. And with Ring of Honor, it's just amazing, and we're going to have a great time next week. Hey, good to see you, man. Here, Ed.
Just read Craftsy Podcast, PWI, Person Illustrated. I have a question off of the back of that, Tony Khan. You said that I've heard a couple of rumors that you're going to film some Ring of Honor episodes on the backs of Dynamite. Why didn't you choose to film an episode tonight with the Ring of Honor crowd here? Could have probably used a little bit of what happened tonight to further along. Was it just not enough time? Maybe?
Well, I felt like there was 4 hours of wrestling, and we went to such an emotional moment. I can't imagine asking the crowd to come back on an emotional high after seeing the roller coaster that was tonight, the emotional highs and lows. I don't know if I've ever been involved in a wrestling show that had as many emotional peaks and valleys, and a series of them by design, where you had so many of the great wrestlers from all over the world converging for what I thought was a really great night of wrestling. And what an amazing moment. Who would have ever thought, I mean, years ago, even months ago, that this would be possible, to be sitting here in a moment like this would be possible. This is a dream. And I think to go after an emotional moment like that, to see Claudio retaining and Yuta out there, the former champion with the current champion, and the way the crowd supported Eddie, and to have Eddie and Shibata out there at the end. And really, I thought it was an amazing match. That when Shibata won the championship, followed by an amazing match with Claudio and Eddie, and a great moment out there with 4 great wrestlers in the ring. And I just thought, with the emotional peaks and valleys of the night, after 4 hours of great wrestling, 3 hours of which were on an amazing pay-per-view, I thought it would be hard to go out and tape more great wrestling. I do think there's a great opportunity next week with a live Friday Night Rampage. We'll be doing 2 hours of Dynamite, which opens up a slot where sometimes we might be filming Rampage. So I thought it would be great, coming off this amazing show, to go into New York, another great market with a great history of AEW. But long before there was an AEW, there was also a lot of great Ring of Honor in New York. And I cannot imagine a better wrestler in the world to go into New York representing Ring of Honor, and frankly, a better champion to go in with us than this man sitting to my left. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, champion. If I made George, can I get George Napolitano to take a photo of me with the champion, Mr. Shibata? I never thought I'd be able to say that. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Oh, Mayor?
You're awesome. Thank you. Wow, great job.
There you go. You did it.
Thanks, George. We did it. Thank you. You
Thank you
did
very
it.
much.
Thank you. Go touch mom.
Thank you very much.以上。
That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you for showing that man the respect he deserves. That was great. Thank you.
Next up, welcome Athena.
Speaking of which, another great champion. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Questions?
Congratulations, Athena. Nick Hausman from House of Wrestling. Fightful put out a report that Trinity Fatu was backstage tonight. Is that somebody that you'd like to see yourself defending that title against in the near future?
Absolutely. Trin is one of my really good friends. We talk on a daily basis. And when we both found out that we were in LA, it was really awesome. She's one of my very close friends, and she wanted to come out and support. And so, very cool moment. Like, I hope to have a match with her in the future. I never had the opportunity in WWE to have that match. So, absolutely.
Hi, Athena. Amy Nemedy with WrestleJoy. I wanted to talk about your match with Yuka Sakazaki tonight. You guys had an explosive bout. You've got a lot of history between the two. There's a lot of energy from the crowd throughout the entire match. I just wanted to know your thoughts on wrestling Yuka tonight, obviously emerging victorious, and whether you're finished with Yuka, or maybe you might visit her again in the future. Thank you and congratulations.
My match with Yuka was something I didn't think was going to happen. You know, she showed up this past week after my match with Emmy, attacked me from behind. You know, who would do such a thing? It's crazy. But, you know, coming in here, I knew that I had a very tough week ahead of me, coming off having the flu, coming in, wrestling Emmy, going and having a killer match with her, going into having a match with Yuka tonight. I mean, I felt a lot of pressure coming into that, but a lot of confidence as well, because I knew Yuka just wasn't going to be able to deliver.
Hello, I'm John Moore with ProWrestling.net. First of all, so throughout your career, you've been known as like a heroic, like superhero to people. Now we're seeing a little bit more of an aggressive side from you.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that, and what kind of things do you feel you can do now as opposed to what the old Athena would do?
You know, it's funny you say that, because I never stopped being my hero at the end of the day. Just because I turned up the aggression, just because I'm out here doing what I have to do to keep my ROH Women's Championship, doesn't mean that I'm not my hero. And honestly, like, there's plenty of people out there that look at me and they're like, wow, I wish I could punch my boss in the face. Wow, I wish I could hit this woman that called me whatever, you know. I am defending what I think is best for me, right? I wrestled on the indies for 10 years. I was known as the American Joshi when I was there. Now I'm the Fallen Goddess. I'm the Alpha. I keep telling everyone that they have to step up their game, because I'm not letting go of this title anytime soon. So I'm going to continue to be my hero. I'm going to continue to deliver every single time I step out there. And if anyone has a problem with it, I'll knock them flat on their ass. So,
If I may, Champ, that brings me to our next big show. And of course, right before you came in, I mentioned Ring of Honor has a great history in the state of New York and around New York City. And we're going to be having a huge show, UBS Arena, right on that Queens, Long Island border there. And with the great history Ring of Honor has, and after your great match tonight and the great series of matches you've been having, you've been saying you wanted to be a great fighting champion. You have a great opportunity against somebody you wanted to have a match with, and somebody who picked up a great win, of course, just last night on Ring of Honor, and was very impressive, Miyu Yamashita. And you will be wrestling Miyu Yamashita in New York, and it'll be a great match this Thursday on Ring of Honor TV, and you have a chance to continue being a great fighting champion. But after the schedule you've been keeping up, I think nobody can deny you're a fighting champion.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Steve Hall from Tenkan on Wrestling News Co. Tony, Ian, great to see you. You work with New Japan, but can we see you work more with Tokyo Joshi Pro with, you know, bring up your opponent coming up, Maki Ito as well, someone we all want to see you take on again here, Ring of Honor or even on AEW TV?
I mean, one of the really cool things about being in Ring of Honor, and I'll just touch a little bit on my past, being on the indies for 10 years, my dream was always to go and wrestle in Japan. go and prove myself with the best wrestlers, the best Joshi in the entire world. And I never got that opportunity. I still haven't had that opportunity. So every time anyone from Japan comes over here, like I know that they're going to bring the fight. I know that they're going to hit hard, and I'm constantly going to prove that I'm better than them every step of the way. So it doesn't matter if it's Miyu Yamashita. It doesn't matter if it's Yuka Sakazaki. It doesn't matter if it's Maki Ito. Hell, it can even be Aja Kong for all I care. I'm going to beat the brakes off of all of them and show them that I am the absolute best in the world, and no one can hold a candle to me.
All right. I'm afraid.
Good.
Sean Mostafa Fightful, you and Tony have both talked about how some of the matches against the Joshi wrestlers you've been booked against lately are ones that you've won, but weekly on like Dark and ROH you face some really great indie talent like Judy Lin and Hyan. Are any of those like people that you specifically like went to him and said, I would like to wrestle them? There's not a lot of them.
Yes, Hyan in particular. Hyan was trained by Booker T, and I was trained by Booker as well. It's something that we had trained together. We've known each other for a very long time, and it just kind of matched up when I saw her. I think after the Willow match, I went to TK. I was like, give me Hyan tomorrow.
Yeah. Which is crazy coming off an amazing match like that to say. It was that again shows what a great fighting champion you are.
Yeah, I mean, like, Ring of Honor meant the world to me when I got the opportunity to work for them on the independent scene. And I know every person that comes through the door feels the exact same way. Just to be able to have some of these dream matches, like Willow was a bucket list match of mine. And like, it was something that I'd wanted because I was in WWE and I saw that smile, that everything. And I was like, I just want to punch her in the face. Please, I just need this so much. So when the match got announced, I was very excited for that. Same thing with Hyan. I mean, there are a lot of phenomenal wrestlers out there. Once again, they're not me. But at the end of the day, like having the opportunity to prove myself time and time again, having that pressure, having everyone online talk about what is she going to do next? Like, what violence can she create next? What is she going to do? Who's going to stop her? You know, that only creates drama and that sucks all of you guys in and makes you want to see me beat them up so much more. I know. You just want to see me win forever. It's fine.
Final questions? Just read across the podcast, Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. Since the reemergence of Ring of Honor under Tony Khan, many people would say at the end that you have been the MVP of what's happened in this match with the Willow was amazing. How has it been to be able to work Ring of Honor with like not as many restrictions as you previously had? It's kind of like there's no commercials. It's just like it feels a little bit more free.
Man, that's a hard question because I don't think of it that way. And let me put it this way. I've never been a person that's been about myself. I've been about the match. I've been about the story. I've been about the intensity because that's what you guys come to see. You know, people that are for themselves don't last long here. And especially in Ring of Honor, I've seen it time and time again. Someone will come through the door and then they're out, right? This is a reemergence, and I think everyone in my division is proving that we belong here and that we're going to make you watch what we do. There are so many young, amazing talent that are building themselves up. But the one thing about Ring of Honor that you cannot deny is like we are in the proving ground and we will not be denied. We're here to sell every show, every week, even when we're at AEW. We are dedicated to showing the world that Ring of Honor is a serious brand and that we are the best brand.
Questions?
First off, being a leader from Strike Wrestling, congratulations on the win tonight. You bring up that you're still proving everything down. You've been more to bring up. Is there potentially someone either on the AEW roster or out there elsewhere that you would like to face personally?
Well, I hear Jamie Hayter hits hard. And I like to hurt people. I mean, she's definitely on my bucket list. There are so many women within the AEW roster that I haven't had the opportunity of wrestling. There are so many women on the independent scene and just out there, New Japan, Stardom, everywhere out in the world that I want to wrestle. Masha Slamovich, I won a singles match with Kairi Sane. Mercedes Moné, I never got that opportunity as well. Yes, I know them. Get over it. perfect, right? But at the end of the day, those are bucket list matches that I want. I would love another round with Tootie Lynn. You know, like I said, there's so many people. Toni Storm. I never got to have a singles match with Toni Storm. Trisha Dora, who's absolutely phenomenal, and I've been keeping my eye on her, hoping that she stays down on the lower card. But you know, at the end of the day, like, I'm open to any challenge that steps in my way, because like, this is what I do, right? The pressure is on, especially when you're champion. You have to prove that you can deliver every single match, and that pressure sometimes it's anxiety driven, right? But at the end of the day, like, this is what I do. This is what I was made for. And I was born to be champion. I was born to be in Ring of Honor. I was born to be in that ring, and no one is going to take that away from me.
Last question for Tina.
Grant Matthews with Bleacher Report. Any thoughts on what the Outcast have been doing currently in AEW? Do you support the cause, or do you fall on that line, or are you just kind of focused on your own business right now?
I don't know. Like, I look, you know, I dabble in the AEW Dynamite and Rampage, if you will. And it's really cool to see all of them find each other, right? But at the end of the day, I don't need anybody. I'm a solo act, right? Now, not to say if they did come and knocking on the door, I would maybe hear them out, hear what they had to say, because after all, I'm more successful than all of them. I have a championship. They don't. But at the end of the day, you know, birds of a feather kind of fly together. But, you know, we have to see what's on the table. What are they offering, right? You know, this beautiful championship does not come cheap, nor does my help, right? So we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Athena.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Congrats. See the champ wrestling again on Thursday. And it was a great match tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing her against Yamashita on Thursday. Could be a great match, and certainly she's a great fighting champion. And speaking of great champions in the history of Ring of Honor, I don't know if there's a greater wrestler with a greater legacy in Ring of Honor that was here tonight. Somebody who's part of a Hall of Fame legacy as a tag team and was here as a singles wrestler tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark Briscoe.
Mark Stumeyer from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn in Austin. First of all, it's great to see you. I know there's got to be a lot of emotion. This is your first Ring of Honor pay-per-view without your brother. Talk for a moment about what it felt like to be out there. You know he's looking from above, but to not have him in that corner, just talk for a moment about the emotions that you were experiencing.
I tell you, it was you know, this is going to be May 20th. It'll be 23 years that me and my brother been professional wrestlers, you know, and it was the first time after we had the dog collar match with FTR at Final Battle in December. We had an indie show in Queens against a team called Main Event at House of Glory later in December. And after that, it was the first time in so long that we didn't have a match booked. We didn't have something, you know, we knew Supercard was coming, and we knew that we was going to be on Supercard, defending the tag team titles, but we didn't have anything on the indies. We didn't. It was a strange moment of, as weird as it sounds, peace, because my brother, when we had a match coming up, and I don't want this to sound wrong, but he didn't have peace because he was always so ready to go. He called me like, Chick, we gotta cut this promo. What you want to do for this promo? Let's put a tweet out, you know, whatever it may be. But this was just a weird little season where we didn't have, we knew Supercard was coming a few months away, but we didn't have a match yet. So he was chilling. And Jay Briscoe, he, as and this is no knock whatsoever because of his passion. He was rarely chilling. He was always focused on the next match. He was always focused on the next opponent, focused on the next promo we're going to cut, focused on what's next. But what was next was Supercard, and it was yet to be known what Supercard was going to entail for the Briscoe brothers. So, you know, and now here we are. Supercard just wrapped up, and, you know, I can't say that I'm, you know, we about winning. You know what I mean? We about championships. We about making the family proud. We about the legacy. And you know, one thing that I'm not going to do is sit here and pout. Samoa Joe is a hell of a fighter, but if you think that I'm done with Samoa Joe because he beat me tonight, hey, you can forget about that, man. But I know, like, I can feel him, my brother. I can feel him. Like, it's not like I wonder about him because I can feel him. I wonder where he is, what he's doing, you know, because I can feel him. It's like even more so than before, where we were wanting, you know, you always hear the commentary. Oh, the Briscoe brothers, they don't even have to speak words. They grunt and snarl, and they know what each other's talking about. But now it's like more than ever, it's like Jay's like in me. I mean, it might sound weird, but it's the God's honest truth, man. And I can feel him, and I felt him out there tonight, just like I do every day of my life, but especially when I'm between them ropes, because you know that's something that we shared since we was 3, 4, 5 years old. I mean, it ain't start when we became professionals at 15 and 16, but it started way before that. You know what I mean? It started way before that, and now it's like where we go from here. That's like where he's like, "Yo, chick, let's go. Pick yourself up. Let's go." So, yeah, man, it's strange, and I'm just starting to learn how this new thing works. But oh yeah, he's right here with you.
Mark, hi, it's me, Salcedo, Instinct Culture. We have seen, you and your brother wrestle literally everywhere across so many different promotions, so many big moments. And looking back, what would you say are some of the memories that you still just hold dear to your heart?
I mean, it's like asking which one of my kids is my favorite. You know what I mean? I got 7 kids, but I mean, just I tell you something that was just so special, and just the way that God worked that last year. Tomorrow is 1 year since Briscoe's FTR won, and just that trilogy of matches that we just, like I said, there'll be 23 years in May, 22 years of wrestling, and we've had amazing matches here, there, and everywhere. But just there was something special about the 3 matches that we had with FTR, and just the fact that was what Jamin. I'm telling you, like his passion. He was passionate about anything that he did, anything that he thought was worth doing. He did it 110%. Whether it was coaching middle school football, or whether it was landscaping. He was a landscaping connoisseur. He was the damnedest, the best landscaper. I mean, there might have been one thing he was better at than wrestling, and that was running that weedy and putting that edge on it. But I'm telling you, it's just like the way that happened. Like that was what he was. He was at such peace because that's what we were just coming off of. The dog collar match with FTR, and like I said, we didn't have a definite match in the future, and we were so proud of that match and that trilogy with them guys that it's like it's hard. Like if you knew Jay personally, then you just understand how he like if we had a match that, you know, he didn't really like that much, or he was like, man, I thought that could have been so much better. Then he wouldn't be able to get right until the next match that we had, and we went out there and killed it. You know what I mean? But just coming off of that match with FTR, I mean, that trilogy, like I said with FTR, that will always be special. Always be special. I mean, I could sit here for 20 minutes and, you know what I mean, cherry pick. I think, okay, I remember back in 2006 when we did this, you know what I mean? But just that, I'm gonna just leave it at that. The FTR trilogy it will never ever be, you know what I mean? It'll always be special. Always be special.
Hey, Mark. Mike Johnson, PW Insider. How are you?
Good.
I cover a lot of your stuff dating back to when you were rookies. Tonight, the reception afterwards felt like best of the best one in Jersey, like times 10,000. You and Damon had that triple match. Obviously, it was an emotional night for you. Could you have expected that sort of outpouring from the crowd after the match, and then that moment with your family afterwards? Like, can you kind of explain what was going through your head in that moment when the match was over, Joe had left, he'd given you the ring, and suddenly the entire arena is basically adopted Briscoe family members?
And it's unreal, man. Just the love. Dude, love is the word. Love is the word. Like, this is like, you know what I mean? Love is the trump card in life. You ever play spades, you know what I mean? The spade's the trump card. The three of spades will be the ace of hearts. Love is the trump card. You see what I'm saying? In life. You know what I mean? Like, that's above and beyond anything else. And that's what I felt, man. That's what I felt. Like, I remember that match, Best of the Best 2001.
Yep.
You know, it was funny because we debuted May the 20th, 2000. May the 21st, 2001 is when we had that match, Best of the Best, CCW in Sewell, New Jersey. And, you know, to me, it's weird because it's like we started on the 20th, we changed the game on the 21st. You see what I'm saying? And, you know, it's crazy because me and Jay, you know, like, we wanted the same. Like, and he passed away. He moved on to the next higher level of existence on January the 17th. January the 18th is my birthday. So he went on, he moved on the 17th, and I was born on the 18th. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's profound, man. Like, if you can't see God's hand in this, you know what I mean? It's just something that I feel. It's not just something I know in my head, something I feel with my heart. But man, the outpouring, it was just, you know, don't get me wrong, I was pissed because I just lost the damn match. But felt good.
Bill Pritchard, WrestleZone.com. Maybe this is a better question for you, Tony, but you've talked a lot about some of the matches that Ring of Honor has coming up with some of the other guests here. What's next for Mark Briscoe?
I'm really glad you asked that. It's a great question. Thank you, Bill. I'm really excited. Tonight was very different. It was the first pay-per-view of a new journey, and it was a start of something special because it's the first Ring of Honor pay-per-view that I've been able to work with Mark Briscoe as a singles wrestler. I first got to know Mark and Jay 1 year ago today, and it was the first time we met. And I smile because I see you over there, and Denise, they were actually there the first time we ever worked together and met. And it was a great show. It was Supercard last year in Dallas. And the trilogy that Mark talked about, it's very special, I think, to people all over the world. It's very special to me personally, and you know that. And it's special to me for many reasons. And I was glad that I got to know Mark and Jay and immediately bonded. And I wanted to work with them even more. I thought they could be a part of AEW, a part of Ring of Honor forever. And what we did in Ring of Honor, the trilogy we did, is one of the most perfect things I've ever been a part of, and it's a really special thing. And we look back on it. What's symmetry for 3? Symmetry's 2. The whatever. It's the perfect. Pardon? The cubed of it. Well, I don't know if that's quite right, because is the symmetry? Is it, you'd call that the cube? What do you call it? The triangle of symmetry. The perfect. It's just the trilogy was so perfect. And sorry for reflecting on this, and I'm sorry for taking away from any of this. I just want to talk about you for a second, because you asked what this is, and it's the start of a new journey. And like Samoa Joe is one of the greatest wrestlers, one of the Hall of Famers. There's only 4 Hall of Fame acts in Ring of Honor history. It includes the Briscoe brothers as a team and Samoa Joe as a single. And tonight was a dream match in many ways. But Samoa Joe is one of the greatest mountains of all to climb. And I think Mark is still learning out there in some ways to do a different style of pay-per-view wrestling than he's been accustomed to in the past. There was a moment tonight when the match hit an emotional climax where Mark actually looked to the corner for strength and found it in his brother. And, I think that there's more to come from Mark Briscoe. I'm really excited because I felt like this was the start of something special and the start of a new journey that we started a year ago. And I want to echo what he says, that I feel like Jay's with all of us. I feel that. I personally, it's neither here nor there. There's a spiritual side I tried to get in touch with more in October when my mom was really sick and on the ropes, and she kicked out, and there was something I was looking for, and I found it with Mark and his family. And to be in a place where I've never seen such an outpouring of love, and frankly, it's because of the love that they exude and what comes out of Mark and his family and his parents and everybody in that family and Jay. And it's a presence that I feel, and I'm with him. And so Mark's not going anywhere and Jay's not going anywhere. They're always with us. And so the future is strong for all of us, and we're all going to be together forever. And it's a really, really special thing that the connection that those fans tonight had with him, because they all felt that it was the start of a journey. And that's why you saw that emotional connection and that outpouring of love. And it's only the beginning of that kind of outpouring of love. And there's people all over the world that love Mark, and it's because of the love that comes out of him, because he's such a special person. His family are such special people.
Last question from Mark.
Thank you, John Moore, ProWrestling.net. First, let me preface this. It's so amazing to see people like you just having such a positive attitude in a tough situation like this. It's funny, like you mentioned, how he's still inside of you. As weird as that sounds, you understand that he's looking for love, always in your memories and always here. And the reason I preface things like that is, where does that sort of positivity come from? Is it faith, family, upbringing? And at the same time, what advice can you give to others to have that positive attitude when they're going through that same situation?
Brother, man, I gotta just, cut to the chase and tell you, Jesus, dude, I'm and it was the time in my life where I struggled with faith in God and all that, and it was one of the most scariest, I don't know if this is grammatically correct, but one of the most scariest times of my life, when I'm like, holy shit, if I die, maybe there's not a heaven. Maybe I'm just dead and gone. But then it's when God shows up, and it's you feel him, and it's like the wind. You cannot see the wind. Even in the midst of the biggest hurricane, tornado, you're not actually seeing the wind. You're seeing the effects of the wind. You see what I mean? You see shit, trailers and this, that, and the other blowing all over the place. Leaves, whatever, blowing houses down. You're not seeing the wind itself. You're seeing the effects of the wind. You see what I'm saying? And when I started seeing and feeling the effects of God in my life, that's when that's what changed the game for me. And that's where I got peace. That's where I got comfort. I grew up in a Christian family, but that, to me, that adds up to a hill of beans. until you experience it. But that's what. So that's what I'm telling everybody. Like just know that this life is a drop in the ocean, in a million oceans, in 100 million oceans, in a billion oceans, a drop. So the night that Jay passed, I'm like, my brain obviously is like, what the hell's, I can't even comprehend anything. I can't even think straight. We're on the way to the hospital. Jay was, they were still trying to get him out of the truck. He was trapped. He was, but my nieces were over at the hospital. We're going to the hospital. Everybody's there. Everybody's on the way to the hospital. I swear to you, it was like I'm in this midst of, what the fuck is going on in part of my language, but it's like, God was like, hey, do you believe what you say you believe? Or do you just say you believe it? I was like, nah. I think I was like, okay, I do believe what I say I believe. It's like, well, hey, if that's the case, then you know what's up. He's with me. He's good. Like, worry about them girls. Worry about your family. You know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, like, in the since Jay passed, everything's been flipped upside down, flipped on its head. You know what I mean? But in the strangest way, it's finally getting to the place where it's like, it's okay. As strange as that sounds, it's okay. It's like, he's doing better than me. Jay doing better than me. I wrestled Samoa Joe tonight. He wrestled Eddie Guerrero. You know what I mean?
And technically, like next time you win the world champ, you're gonna be champ too.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So it's just you know what I mean? And everybody has their own personal beliefs, but that's what I'm going with. That's what I'm going with, brother.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everyone. And I have one more guest. Here's the Ring of Honor World Champion, Claudio Castagnoli.
Hey, Claudio, Connor Casey, comicbook.com. A lot has been said about this rivalry you had with Eddie Kingston and the years that you two shared together. He certainly made it sound after the match like he wants another shot eventually. But do you think this closed the chapter on your rivalry with him?
Well, I won, didn't I? Case closed.
Claudia and Hausman, House of Wrestling, congratulations on retaining. Eddie talks a lot of trash about you, MJF, a lot of people. What do you think of his comments? Do you think it's good for the brand? Do you think it's good for the action? What do you think of the way he speaks about the other people on the roster?
I don't think it's good for the brand. I don't think it's good for wrestling in general. And I don't think it's behaving for anybody who wants to be a world champion at one point.
Thank you.
Steve Ball from 10 Count on Wrestling News Co. Claudio, congratulations as well. Who do you have your eye on as next challenger? Because obviously as champion, is a bullseye on your back. So who do you think is coming after you next?
Oh man, whoever has the guts to do so, I would like to say. If you watch the show tonight, I mean, there's some awesome matches. There's some great matches on the 0 hour. There's been some great matches on ROH TV, on Honor Club. I think Ring of Honor is red hot. If you watch Honor Club, you just see every single person is trying to prove themselves. trying to show why they should be the next in line for this title. So there's a whole bunch of challenges, and I'm looking forward to facing each and every one of them.
Very good. Thank you.
Hi, Claudia. Amy Nemedy with WrestleJoy. At the end of your match tonight, first of all, congratulations, of course. Wonderful events. You and Wheeler Yuta and Eddie Kingston and Shibata had a sort of standoff that might potentially lead to something in the future. I was curious about what your thoughts were on that, as well as what your thoughts are with Shibata working within Ring of Honor. It seems like a very prestigious and very honorable situation to have somebody, you're carrying the Ring of Honor World Championship, you have Shibata coming in with the Pure Championship. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that, as well as your thoughts on potentially working with or against them in the future. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I respect Shibata a lot. He's a tremendous athlete. He has tremendous fighting spirit to come back from the injuries he came back from. And he's obviously ridiculously good because he beat Wheeler today, and he's just kind of having a renaissance, if you will, and showing how good he is to the American audience who may or may not be that familiar with him. That being said, him sticking his nose kind of where it doesn't belong, not my cup of tea. Also, he, just won the Pure Championship, which is very wrestling based. I don't know if it would be best for his health to step in the ring with somebody of my caliber. So, just maybe it would be better for him to wait a little bit before he steps in the ring with me. So, just general warning to Shibata. I may want to think that through. So we just got to see him come back. We don't want him to go back for on the shelf for a while. So let's just keep it that way.
Questions up here? Xavier from Vincent. Congratulations on your win tonight.
Thank you.
From your rivalry with Eddie Kingston, you said that a man without honor can be Ring of Honor champion.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you could elaborate on that. What does that concept of honor mean to you, and what does that mean to you?
Well, I use an example fresh from today. There's going to be plenty. Right after the match, when Eddie Kingston had the microphone, what was the first thing he said? Stuff that you cannot air on regular television, stuff that you cannot write in a regular publication, stuff that is not behaving of a Ring of Honor champion. So that just proved my point tonight. Didn't even have to wait 2 minutes, and he proves it again. So that was the answer to your question. He answered it himself.
Questions? Matt Root, LA's. I was wondering, Claudio, how you feel that your run as Ring of Honor champion is really helping to establish the brand and to sort of set it apart from AEW and give it its own identity.
So I was trying to defend this Ring of Honor championship the way I remember it. Any chance I get against anybody who wants to step up. I defended this Ring of Honor World Championship. By the way, not this one, but if you can see, this is a brand new, beautiful, absolutely beautiful title. And I'm very proud of to be the first guy to hold it. But I defended the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship on Dark. I defended it on Rampage. I defended it on Honor Club. So to me, this is a fighting man's championship. I defend against anybody who wants to step up. I defended it in proving ground matches because to me, that is what the Ring of Honor champion always has been. It's about honor. It's about representing the company. And that is, Ring of Honor always was the best pure wrestling company, I feel like. And that doesn't mean AEW doesn't have good wrestling, because it certainly has the best wrestling on television. But I always felt that Ring of Honor was the place where you see the next great talent, where they have a chance to showcase themselves longer that they might have on television because of time constraints, where people have a chance to step up and really showcase what they got, where you find, like in Ring of Honor is where people like myself, like Brian Danielson, like Nigel McGuinness, and so many more, that cut their teeth, found their style, found their flows, and that's what Ring of Honor is. So if people watch Honor Club, they can almost like discover who is going to be the next guy that you have to watch on Independence. And I feel like Tony's done a really good job bringing people in who's starting to create a little bit of a buzz on the independent scene to showcase themselves on a way bigger platform. And I feel like Honor Club has been doing incredible well, and the response has been great from people from all over the world because now it's accessible for everybody, and people get the chance to showcase themselves and to prove why they're going to be the next big thing. And that's what Ring of Honor has always been. It's where people have a chip on their shoulder. And I thought about that today, actually. It's a very long-winded answer. I thought about that today because I worked out this morning. And as I was working out, I was kind of thinking, like, why am I working out? It's kind of like when you're in the middle of a hard workout, you always question yourself, like, why am I doing this? And the answer is simple. It's because you want to stay hungry, you want to stay humble, and you will never want to think that you're too good to do the hard work. And that's what Ring of Honor means to me, and that's what I feel like the Ring of Honor champion should be. You want to defend it every single time with all your heart, and that's why I feel people should watch Ring of Honor, and that's the kind of champion I would like to be.
A few more? First off, Claudio, congratulations on the win tonight.
Thank you.
Leo with Distracted by Wrestling. And the question is for you tonight, where do you feel like you go from here? Who do you feel that could be the one to step up to you? Whether it be Forbidden Door coming up or possibly, a former, tag team partner, like how would you feel if say someone like Chris Hero, Mr. Pierre, and John for the championship?
Well, I feel like Forbidden Door opens, pun intended, so many doors of people who can step up there. I mean, we've seen just, like you brought it up earlier, Shibata, again, I'm worried about his health, so let's think about that as well. Tanahashi was here today. There's so many great other talents. I think I wrestled in a match with Okada 15 years ago as well. There's a lot of history there. There's plenty of people in New Japan that I would like to defend this Ring of Honor World Championship against former, like you bring up, Chris Hero, former people. Sure, if ever, like, whoever wants to step up and put in the work to get to a place where I feel like they deserve a title match, or Tony feels like they earned a title match, hey, I'll take on anybody. But again, I feel like you can't just walk in and demand a title match. You know what I mean? I feel like I've earned that respect. I've earned that courtesy that you need to be ready and you need to show that you're ready. And there's a lot of people out there that are proving themselves to be ready. There's a lot of former Ring of Honor champions that I would love to step in the ring with. You can just throw a bunch of them out there. I mean, like Bandito would be one of them, Roosh would be one of them. Adam Cole was just recently cleared again. There's so many more. There's a bunch of young kids that come up, and I feel like they have that fire. They have that energy. They have that chip on their shoulder that I want to step in the ring and prove myself against. Because again, you always need to measure yourself against the best. Otherwise, you're not a worthy champion.
Will Washington, Fightful. I wanted to ask a bit of a presentational question. So when you first came into AEW at Forbidden Door last year, you entered into a very upbeat version of the 1812 Overture. But since you had this shift in your persona. You've had a bit of a reputational change in entering tonight to a very classical version of the Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture with cannons and all that. So I guess it's a two-part question. One, what was the inspiration behind that? Was that something that's probably Tony Khan called? And two, how do you feel that's enhanced your presentation and your career?
Oh, it's yours. It's yours. I love both of those entrance musics a lot. I felt that the one that I came into at Forbidden Door, the more like upbeat one, like you said, matched that excitement and matched that energy a lot. But I feel the more I integrated myself in AEW and Ring of Honor, I felt like there needed to be a little bit of a change. And I feel like the music that I came out to tonight, or my new music, kind of like hits the nail on its head. And I feel like it's very much me, and it's very much current. And I feel like if you had 1 minute and 15 seconds, because I know exactly how long the track is in my head, because I listened to it quite a few times. If you had 1 minute and 15 seconds to sum up who I am, listen to that music. It's fantastic. And I know Tony loves it.
I love it. It's
yeah.
Look at him. Look at it. It's perfect.
Last question.
Last question.
Hi, Phil Lindsay of Sleep Police Report. We saw Brian Danielson return this week on Dynamite. We haven't seen 4 of you guys together with Blackpool Contact for quite a while. What does it feel like to have the band actor, so to speak, and be moving at the same coordinates?
Oh man, it felt great. It's like family reunion. You know what I mean? It's like,
and you don't want to sit where they're going to appear together live Wednesday. You don't have to say too much. You save something for Wednesday.
I'm gonna keep my answer short. Yeah, it was great. It was like having your brother back, you know, and just having a good time. And like I said, like Tony said, there's going to be more on Wednesday, where we're going to probably answer some more questions. And yeah, you just have to keep watching. We have 1 or 2 things up our sleeves, you know. Thank you.
Great.
Right. Thank everybody for being here. I appreciate you. Very excited to be here. Very excited for Tony to be here. It's been a great day for Honor. It's been a great day for wrestling. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bring it down.
We don't need microphones.
Who needs it? Who needs it?
Thanks, guys.
Great.
Okay, guys, have some time with Tony?
Beautiful.
Yes. Plenty of time for questions.
Hey, Tony.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right off the bat, Dante Martin seemed to take a pretty nasty fall there at the end of that ladder match. Do you have an update on his status?
He's at the hospital right now, and right before I came out here, I talked to Darius, and Darius is there, and some of their good friends are there, and I hope to have a good update soon on Dante. I know he's in pain, but I'm wishing the best, and obviously we're all praying for Dante. Dante is an amazing wrestler. Obviously, his brother has been through serious injuries and missed time, and we love Darius very much too, and we missed Darius when he was out, and I think Dante will probably be out of action for some time, and look forward to now Darius taking the time to grow and learn from it. But Dante's somebody who's going to be with us for a very, 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 very long time, and I care very much about Dante, and I've gotten to know him a long time since he came up with us through the pandemic, and that one hurt a lot of people in the back, including myself, but it hurt nobody worse than poor Dante, and I just hope he's going to be okay. Thank you.
And just to double dip,
sure.
A few of the champions tonight mentioned Forbidden Door as a potential match. Does Ring of Honor have a role at Forbidden Door coming up?
Well, I can't say all the matches at Forbidden Door for sure, but I do think there was likely be involvement, given that last year, of course, the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships were involved, and there was that huge match Of course, with tag team championships on the line, the three-way match, FTR represented Ring of Honor last year as champions, and there has been Ring of Honor involvement in the past at Forbidden Door, and of course, Claudio debuted last year at Forbidden Door. So I think there's a good chance that Ring of Honor can be involved in Forbidden Door again, and I also think there's a lot of potential crossovers between AEW and Ring of Honor and between Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and of course, AEW and New Japan will be at Forbidden Door. Good chance Ring of Honor could continue being involved again this year too. Thank you.
Tony Denise Salcedo, Instinct Culture. So I wanted to ask you kind of a two-part question here, but El Hijo del Vikingo, first and foremost, I want to get your personal reaction, as a fan getting to see that match between him and Kenny Omega, and then also how you felt about his match today with Commander.
It was a great match tonight with Commander. It was a great way to start an awesome pay-per-view. They started out with a bang, and it was a great match as we expected. I look forward to hopefully both of them being involved in the near future. Vikingo, great match also with Kenny Omega, truly a dream match. I know there was a high anticipation going into that match against Kenny Omega, but I thought they delivered on very high expectations. And also, I thought it really helped draw an audience for the show. And I also look forward to hopefully working with him again in the future. Of course, Commander also will be with us again on Wednesday, wrestling against Sammy Guevara, which should be an awesome, awesome match in New York on Wednesday. And it was an awesome match to start the show tonight. And hopefully he'll be with us again. And I spoke to him about that after the show. I'd love to see him again, hopefully either here in Ring of Honor or maybe on a Wednesday night in AEW. So I look forward to that. I think there's a good chance again in the very near future. Thanks for asking.
Bill Pritchard, WrestleZone.com. Going back again to some upcoming Ring of Honor events, do you have any news on maybe when Ring of Honor is coming back to LA, maybe at a venue like this, or maybe the Globe Theaters down the street?
Well, there's a lot of great venues, and I definitely would love to bring ROH back here, and for AEW and ROH. I think this is such a great market for pro wrestling, and it's been great for us. This past year, we've done a lot of great events out here in LA, and it's been a home to me for years, spending time out here. And so it's personally for me great to spend time out here in LA. And actually 5 years ago this week is where I had the conversations that led to me getting into pro wrestling and starting AEW. I had my first conversation out here 5 years ago this week around Beverly Hills that led to AEW being formed. And I was just in the right place at the right time. And like so many things in life, timing is everything. And I'm very fortunate to be able to call LA sometimes in the off season and whenever I can be out here part-time home. And I love doing more AEW action out here, and certainly more Ring of Honor would be great too. So I'm not sure exactly when I can say that, but we'll definitely be back here more often. I see a lot of, no, it's good. I have a lot of time, so I see a lot of hands. I'll answer everybody's questions. So whoever you guys want to go to.
You mentioned earlier, Micro LAs.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that there were a series of highs and lows on the show by design. I was curious. I noticed a lot of fans online were particularly shocked seeing both Claudio and Joe retaining, and these very strong emotional ups and downs in the show. I was sort of curious what you're hoping the fans take away from tonight's, and sort of like what you hope that emotional roller coaster leaves them with going forward.
Well, there's a lot of interesting things to keep an eye on going forward, and there were a lot of great matches, and it was an emotional roller coaster of a night, and certainly some very high highs, and great moment tonight with Shibata being crowned as a new champion. Of course, that was a great moment, but when Eddie did not win, that was a very tough moment. It was good to have the backing of Shibata, and left us with interesting things to think about going forward. Where does this leave Eddie standing? And certainly it was a great match. The crowd was very behind Eddie. I believe people all over the world will still be behind Eddie. It would have been great for him to get the win tonight, but I think there were a lot of times where people did get the satisfying moment, like with Shibata, which also, to your point, I thought was also a result that probably surprised people. People did not expect that, and for Shibata to be a reigning champion now in Ring of Honor is something we're also very excited about. So I did think the unpredictability of the card was a plus, and certainly there were times where it was not what people expected, but I think, tonight in many ways the Empire struck back at times, and it was hard to see Mark Briscoe not get that emotional win. But then to see the way the crowd rallied behind him. And then, like we said, to realize that this is only the beginning of a journey for Mark Briscoe and for Jay Briscoe. They're not going anywhere. And, it's a different era for Mark now. And this is the beginning of a singles journey. And he's going to keep getting better and better as a singles star now, because this is under our new regime here for Ring of Honor. This was Mark Briscoe's first singles match. And, of course, he was coming off some of the best matches in the history of the company. So that was an emotional roller coaster there in that match. But then great moment for the Lucha Brothers to become the champions. The crowd was very behind the Lucha Brothers and very in favor of that. So I think there were some very satisfying moments with the Lucha Brothers winning the championship and Shibata winning the championship. And certainly also the crowd would be frustrated to see Eddie not win the championship or to see Mark Briscoe not win the championship. We have great champions in Claudio Castagnoli and Samoa Joe, who both retain their championships. And to have them and another great world champion like Athena retaining the championship, it was a great night of wrestling. And I think it left us a lot to look forward to. And now on WatchROH.com, all the Honor Club subscribers, people who are watching the TV, streaming, whether they watch it as it goes up Thursday night or whenever you've been able to watch them, we've had really great feedback to the episodes. And we've had great champions with Claudio and Samoa Joe, and we continue to have great champions. But I think for Eddie, whether it's in ROH or AEW, New Japan, wherever Eddie wrestles, people are behind him all over the world. Mark Briscoe, whether it's in AEW or ROH, people are behind him. And their journeys continue, and Claudio Castagnoli and Samoa Joe retain and continue as champions. But I'm also very excited to have great new champions like Shibata and the Lucha Brothers. Thanks.
Steve Hall from Tenkan, Wrestling News Co. I know you've been asked about Goldberg and AEW, but is Goldberg and Ring of Honor ever going to happen?
No. Goldberg and Ring of Honor is never going to happen.
All right.
But I do think that's a great. And as to anything else, I think it's a great. But I don't want. I can only imagine now that's going to be people pull that out as like Goldberg would never. But when people ask me about it, I said I find it interesting. But I do think that would be interesting for AEW. I think your question. Let me build off your question because it's a great question, but it's also let me build off it to say that that's a great example of things that I think are the difference between AEW and Ring of Honor. AEW has a bigger budget, but I've tried to take the production values of AEW and use some of the synergies of owning a wrestling company and create a partnership where AEW can use and leverage some of the great production team and assets. But also, it's great for AEW to be able to develop young wrestlers, to be able to have some of the top stars of AEW come here and represent that company. But also, I think you have to look at it, and there's things I would do in AEW that might be more expensive. There's things in ROH that I would do that are more to cater to a hardcore fan base. Mm-hmm. And there are great matches, and there are people I can bring in that I know people will be excited to see that would get a great reception for Ring of Honor that might not necessarily translate to a huge Nielsen rating. And I think understanding that AEW has a bigger budget and is great wrestling, and Ring of Honor has the opportunity to continue to grow, and that's a business we're building. In Ring of Honor now, when you look, we've done record pay-per-view numbers in the last year and had some of the biggest live gates in the history of the company. So 21 years in, Ring of Honor is growing, which is a really good sign. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I would do something that would be so far out of the character of Ring of Honor. And frankly, I'm not saying it's in the character of AEW, but when you ask me about something like that with a budget like that, I have to give you an honest answer that that's not what we're doing with Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor is on a huge budget by Ring of Honor standards, but when I look at free agency and pro wrestling, there's different wrestlers that I evaluate for different spots, and I think they have different values and different revenue streams they can add to a company. And for Ring of Honor and the business model we're doing, we've got great subscription growth. And I mentioned the pay-per-view and live event numbers. This is also the most streaming subscribers Ring of Honor's ever had for Honor Club, plus what we're doing on top of the pay-per-views with another great number, I'm sure, for tonight, and great results that we've had for the first three events. So it's a good question. There's a lot of exciting things happening in both AEW and Ring of Honor. I have a big announcement coming up Wednesday, as I mentioned. Claudio and Brian and Mox and Yuta will be the first time we've heard from the four of them together in a very long time. A lot of things to look forward to in AEW, but after this great pay-per-view, I think a lot of things to look forward to in Ring of Honor, but probably safe to say that is not one of them.
All right.
Hey, Tony. TJ Jefferson with the
ROH.
Yeah, hey TK, it's great to see you.
Good to see you again. And you came on our show in January, and as you're talking to Rich, we start to see the responsibilities you have with the Jaguars. Now, in addition to the responsibilities you have with AEW and ROH, how are you able to spin these plates, man? Give these, these projects the attention that they need?
Well, it's hard. Frankly, that's where private aviation is really very helpful because I've been able to travel around the world. There's times where I've been able to fly directly from AEW over to London and be a part of AEW in Fulham. There's times where I've been able to go from ROH to an NFL meeting and back to AEW. And in this week in particular, I was at the NFL owners meetings in Arizona until just a few days ago. Went straight from there to St. Louis. Then the next day I had a big meeting in New York and flew from New York to here. So I've been just in the last 4 days done all those flights, and I love it. And to be honest, the energy I feel and the excitement, I feel really invigorated. I think there's a lot of factors in that. I feel like I felt really good, honestly, probably since October when my mom came out of her surgery and started doing a lot better. And I felt like I had a whole new lease on life and energy, and then that carried into full gear and doing these Ring of Honor shows. I think I did like the final battle scrum, and I like to read the feedback and stuff. And a bunch of you were saying like, yeah, that's the best Tony's like looked in a long time. And it's like, yeah, like a lot of the stress is like being relieved. I'm start feeling better. And then we started doing the Ring of Honor, and a lot of people were saying like, how am I going to have the energy to do AEW and Ring of Honor? And is it going to be a drag on the shows? But it feels like people are loving what we're doing with AEW, and the shows have been really strong. I think we've been some of our best Dynamites recently. And we've done 5 episodes of Ring of Honor TV and a great pay-per-view tonight, and I feel like that continues to grow and get better too. And I love it. I love that I've been able to open up a new part of my wrestling mind with Ring of Honor, and I think it's a great example of the promotions being complementary. There's things you do in Ring of Honor that make you think differently about AEW and vice versa. And just like I was saying, there's some free agents you would look for different for AEW, different from Ring of Honor, and there's a different presentation. There's different constraints. When Athena was out here, they asked her about some of that, and I think she gave a good answer. Sometimes to her in the ring, she's not thinking about it as much, when the show's going to commercial or some of those things. But to us in the production side, it is challenging. When I'm laying the show out, it's a completely different challenge. And also when we're working with the Ring of Honor shows, what we have to deal with in terms of advertisers and some of the production elements, it's just a different monster altogether. But I really enjoy it, and I think it's made me have more fun with AEW and Ring of Honor. And also working with somebody as positive as Mark Briscoe and seeing him all the time has also put a smile on my face and opened up a new part of myself I haven't felt in a long time. And like he said, I feel the Holy Spirit in me, and I feel Jay in me, to be honest. And I can't even imagine how he feels about that. But Mark has been a great influence on me and on a lot of people too. Thanks. Good to see you.
Hi, John Moore with ProWrestling.net. Thank you for taking my question. So my question is in regards to sort of evolution of content on Honor Club. So it's 2023. There's a lot of pro wrestling out there, almost like a prime time every day. So or for from the consumer to take Honor Club, they're going to need like a hook or something that differentiates Ring of Honor from everyone else. So in regards to that, are you guys considering not necessarily taking pay-per-views and playing them simultaneously on Honor Club, but doing almost Honor Club pay-per-views where it's Honor Club exclusive? And if not, do you have anything else cooking as for exclusive Honor Club content? I remember in the past they used to have like collections or documentaries. So.
Well, we're trying to put together a lot of great things. To your point, I thought the Jay Briscoe tribute show was a great event, and that was before we went and started putting on the weekly show for subscribers. And that's a new step for us. We've only done 5 episodes, and we're going on a 6th, and it's been really positively received, and people really like the weekly show. So I'd like to continue doing that, building that. And now there's a lot of questions going into the weekly show because we've done 5 episodes building up to this pay-per-view. It's the first time we've been able to go and build off that, and I think there'll be even more interest, and I'm hoping it'll drive even more subscriber growth. To add a great champion now with Shibata's pedigree, to add great now new tag team champions like the Lucha Brothers, a tag team that, look, nobody's ever going to be able to follow the Briscoe brothers, but to bring in one of the best tag teams in the world that is pretty amazing. And so we are very fortunate to have the Lucha Brothers now as the champions in Ring of Honor. And the crowd was very happy to see that. The crowd frustrated to see Mark Briscoe lose, but they didn't lose their support for him. And we'll see where that goes. And of course, Samoa Joe, where does he go next? Is a great TV champion. And for both Claudio and Eddie, what's next? A lot of questions. We know Athena versus Yamashita is a huge match on Thursday. Athena has been, again, one of the MVPs truly of that Thursday night show. So I want to keep building that out. And then as for what's next, we know Death Before Dishonor last year was a great event for us. That's been a great event. I look forward to that. And that'll be coming up. I think I can confirm we will do Death Before Dishonor and continue these traditions we started last year. It's I must say, Righteous Reg, good to see you. It was you last year who forced me to reevaluate things and again open up a different part of my brain, because I've always said AEW wouldn't do a show this weekend in a place where the other show was happening over the next 2 nights, and I thought for AEW that wouldn't make sense. But that was also the first night I'd been around Ring of Honor, and the first night because I'd started booking that show from afar. I took over the keys in the middle of a process that I'd been helping them. I helped them with the previous Final Battle, sending FTR and Jay Lethal and stars on video packages, and I wanted to support them during a difficult period. But I did all that knowing there was a pretty good chance I was not going to be the owner of the next company and somebody else would own all that footage. And the way it all came together right before Revolution last year, it's pretty amazing to think, but it was Righteous Reg who made me reevaluate things and realize maybe I should keep the Ring of Honor traditions and do things completely different than I would do with AEW. So this is not an AEW night, but this is Ring of Honor's night. And we've been able to do some things differently and put a different spin on it. And definitely the Thursday TV show on WatchROH.com, we continue to grow the numbers. So it's the highest streaming subscription numbers ever in Ring of Honor's history. So I think we're seeing good results, and I want to keep building on that. And then as that grows and as we kind of stabilize that, and then we can look at what's next for sure. But it's a great question, John. Thanks. And I'll make sure I see a lot of hands and I'll answer them all. Hey, Bill. Do you want to?
Great show tonight. Just wanted to ask, your recent tour of Northern California with AEW, and doing the show here tonight in Southern California with Ring of Honor. Is there someplace that you would personally like to see AEW and Ring of Honor go to, whether it be another country or another part of the country here in the U.S.?
Well, the next show for AEW and Ring of Honor will be in New York next week. And honestly, I was very excited for AEW to go to New York after all the great shows we've had recently, but also very excited for Ring of Honor to return to New York, because Ring of Honor has a great history around New York and state of New York and around New York City. And UBS is a great, great venue. And I'm excited to bring AEW there, but I was also pretty excited to bring Ring of Honor there. And now with great champions in Ring of Honor, and I can confirm Athena versus Yamashita is going to take place there. I can confirm Shibata will be there next week. He'll be there in New York and in Rhode Island. That's pretty exciting. And that we're going to be going back to the East Coast after this, places where Ring of Honor has a good history. But there's a lot of places I would love for Ring of Honor to run events. Certainly it would be exciting. Ring of Honor's done shows in Canada. I know AEW is doing the Canadian shows. It'd be great for Ring of Honor to go there too, back to Canada and do more international events. But right now I'm very excited. We're continuing to build Ring of Honor back up, and it's amazing because we in some ways started things from scratch under new ownership, but have hit all-time business highs in so many ways and have done it in a way that I really believe complements AEW too. So it's been a win-win, and continue to build a great relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that's great.
Sean Ross, Fightful. We've heard that AEW and Ring of Honor are interested in extending Brian Cage's deal, and he got the win tonight. He's champion right now. Seems like a positive trend. Is there any update on that?
Well, I really like Brian Cage. I think the Embassy are great champions, and Brian Cage has been a great wrestler in both AEW and Ring of Honor, and is a great champion now in Ring of Honor. So I really like Brian. I would definitely like for Brian to stay for a long time. And he did a great job tonight in the match, and he picked up a pin. And I think, the Embassy are definitely a big part of the show, and I would definitely like for them to stay, all three of them, including Brian. And they're definitely dominant, great champions, including Brian.
How do you assess your first year looking after Ring of Honor, what you've achieved, Ring of Honor back on TV, and what are some of the goals you want to achieve going forward the rest of this year and beyond?
Well, I'm very glad you asked. I'm very excited about where we stand 1 year in. It's pretty remarkable. Having done the first show, I was amazed at the pay-per-view interest, and we did such a great show. And now 1 year later, it feels like a lot of things have come not full circle, but we've come back around 1 year later, and they'll keep going around. And it's the start of almost a new circle, because a year ago we had that FTR Briscoes match. Of course, nobody could have anticipated, nobody wanted to be where we are, but looking at the situation, and it's like Mark said, you have to accept where we are and what the reality is, and know that Jay's with us, and know that it was great to have new champions crowned, but also to have Mark and FTR, the other 3/4 of that great trilogy, and to have them out there and look back at where we were at Supercard. I think that was pretty special. And also Samoa Joe arrived in Ring of Honor last year, and now he's the world TV champion and has had a long reign and has won a lot of great matches as the TV champion, and picked up a huge win tonight. And it was an emotional win in a lot of ways, and in many of those emotions were very challenging. But to see Mark out there and to see the love he had from his family and from the fans, and that outpouring of love continues. So I really, as I've been around the company for a year, there are a lot of faces tonight on the show that have been involved with the company a lot throughout that year. Some of them I've known through AEW. Some of them I only got to know 1 year ago. And it opened up a lot of new relationships in my life, changed my life very much. But what I'm really proud of regarding Ring of Honor is how many people that work there that have been able to keep working in wrestling, which sometimes when you take over a new promotion, a lot of the people, especially if the promotion doesn't keep running, then a lot of the people won't be able to keep working. So we were able to keep the promotion running, and a lot of people working and doing better, making more money than ever working for Ring of Honor. And we brought a lot of new faces into the promotion and have done some special things. And then brought in a great new champion like Shibata, and to have international champions like Shibata coming in, or the Lucha Brothers as the new tag team champions. So there's a lot of special things that have happened. We've grown, and then from business standpoints, just to reiterate things I've already said, that we've hit new heights for Ring of Honor this year in terms of streaming, subscriptions, live event averages, and pay-per-view numbers. So really exciting, and hopefully if we can continue that growth, then this is going to prove to continue to be a great purchase I made, and a great compliment to AEW. And of course, both companies are returning to New York next week. And I have a huge announcement on AEW Dynamite. It's very important, and it's going to be an important week, not only because of all the great things happening in AEW, but all the stuff I've talked about, bringing all these great stars from Ring of Honor and having a huge world championship match like Athena versus Yamashita that I'm excited about, and so much more to come that we'll talk about. And I'll get into that big announcement for AEW, and a lot of great matches across AEW and Ring of Honor next week. So I'm excited about a lot of things. And for Ring of Honor, it's the growth and all the things we've been able to build and continue to build on the business side. And more so than anything else, it's the human relationships and the people I've gotten to know and hopefully been able to introduce to the world. And if more people have gotten to know, specifically Mark and Jay Briscoe, as a result of Ring of Honor and the stuff we've done, and that makes me very happy. Thank you. Hey, Mike.
One thing we haven't talked about yet is Nigel McGuinness was on the show tonight. What's his status going forward? I don't think anything is announced. Is he signed? Is he going to be at ROH TV going forward? Maybe a coach? Maybe a on-air authority figure again, like in the past? So, all-encompassing questions. What's up with Nigel McGuinness?
Well, these are all very good questions. They're all things that I look forward to discussing with him in the very near future. I wanted to get together and have an experience working together. I'm a huge fan of Nigel McGuinness, a huge fan, and I've reiterated that to Nigel many, many times. I was a big fan of him as a wrestler and as a commentator, and we have never worked together or gotten to really spend time together in person before today. It was a great experience working with Nigel, and I hope to do it again and hope to continue doing that. And I think the world of him, and think the world of him as a wrestler and a commentator. And he has a great role in the history of Ring of Honor, and now we try to respect the history of Ring of Honor. I've really loved this renaissance of the promotion that we've been able to take so much of the great history and bring elements of that back, and also start a new history for Ring of Honor. And there's just something really fun about it. I think it's my dream. It's as far as like restarting a promotion and to take so many of the great elements and things that made it great, and also be able to introduce so many of the things in the world of wrestling right now that are great, that, and knowing that there's only so many of those things that I can introduce for a variety of reasons in the 3 hours of TV we have for AEW now, I would say that for Ring of Honor, it's gone really well, and I hope we can continue it. I really do. So yeah, it's good. It's good to think about. Thank you.
Hi, Tony. Nick Hausman, House of Wrestling. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Fantastic 3-hour perfect show. Really paced on very, very well. On top of ROH, on top of Dynamite, on top of Rampage, I've talked to a couple of people that say you're interested in maybe doing yet another show that could potentially give you the space to maybe move some people around, maybe have different wrestlers on different rosters, maybe continue to create different rosters. When it comes to dealing with talent, especially talent maybe doesn't get along, do you find that having separate rosters and brands and being able to create rosters that work harmoniously together is an effective tool for you as a promoter?
Yeah, I do think it's been great to have AEW and Ring of Honor, and to be able to have two companies where there's crossover between the rosters, that there's people that identify with one show or the other, identify with certain championships or stories. It's great, but it's also been great to have that forbidden door kind of opening and people going back and forth and create new rivalries. So I'm always interested in developing new properties and exciting possibilities and acquisitions and developments in the world of wrestling. And I definitely have had a really good experience here in Ring of Honor. I think expanding the Ring of Honor roster and, again, bringing back some of those old rivalries from Ring of Honor, honoring some of those traditions and rivalries, and creating new ones. So that's always something I'm interested in and would always be open to. Thank you.
Amy? Hello, Tony. Amy Nemedy with WrestleJoy. Congratulations on a killer pay-per-view tonight with all of the ups and downs. The energy was great all night. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was you have shown a lot of incredible talents from all around the world tonight. Of course, there's the Kinyo Commander. We had Tanahashi and Shibata. I wanted to get your thoughts on what it was like watching Tanahashi and Shibata be out there, hearing the crowd. What were your emotions like? As well as your thoughts on Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta and how they stepped up to the plate in these massive roles that were given to them during the show tonight. Thank you.
Well, I'll start with Tanahashi and Shibata since you asked about them first. They're two of the greatest wrestlers I've seen, certainly of the generation, and in my whole lifetime of watching New Japan Pro Wrestling and wrestling from Japan. I think they're two of my personal favorites and two of the greats. And it was 10 years ago I really got back into the New Japan heavyweight scene. I started watching the juniors a little bit before that and really into their stuff. But probably 10 years ago, the heavyweights also started to draw me back in. And those are two of the great stars that I followed. And then 2013 and 2014, just such a great thing that was happening in New Japan. And I started to see more of the wrestlers that were stars in New Japan coming over to America and getting signed places. And then, honestly, when you have great stars like Shibata and Tanahashi, New Japan Pro Wrestling, to me, they were able to sustain, and they lost big free agents, some of whom were international wrestlers. When I say international, I mean people from outside Japan, and some of these names, but also top stars from Japan, and they went over and signed with WWE. And you saw some of the big names, but it was Shibata and Tanahashi who were two steadfast names for New Japan. Tanahashi has continued on, and even though he's had major injuries, has worked through them and has been the ace in New Japan. Shibata is one of the greatest stories and one of the most inspirational figures, but it's been a very different path to get here tonight and walk out with a championship. And it's a very unlikely story, and it's a really special part of tonight. I think people expected emotionally uplifting moments and maybe some tough results, but I don't think people predicted which ones would be the emotionally uplifting matches and which ones would be the uplifting results. And I think that was part of the magic of tonight and where we're going forward, because it leads to some unexpected paths. But for Shibata, years ago, if you'd said many years ago that he was going to be a top champion in Ring of Honor in 2023, I think that people would have thought that's very possible. But then the road we took to get here, obviously, it's a very different Ring of Honor. It's a very different environment. It's a very different world of professional wrestling. And again, it's pretty surreal that Shibata came through all that. And so to have great wrestlers who represent the very best in New Japan, like Tanahashi and Shibata, that is one of the great things that made Ring of Honor special in the past, and I think embodies also the new Ring of Honor. And so that was great. And they both came out with great victories, which is emblematic of their status as two of the great legends in the sport of pro wrestling. Tanahashi and Shibata both are. And then you had two of our top young stars that have come in, Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia. I think I mentioned some of this on my media call, but I first came to work with both of them a few years ago in Daly's place. And I'd actually seen them wrestle each other on the independents, and they both had a good reputation. We had built a really good crop of wrestlers on TV, and then we had the challenge of the pandemic, and we had to start developing new stars in Daly's place outside of the TV to bring up the stars of the future. And we had a lot of great names that have become champions and stars in AEW that came from AEW Dark, including great wrestlers like The Acclaimed and Powerhouse Hobbs and a lot of other great names, Red Velvet and a lot of other people who worked through Dark and made it onto TV. And then after they moved up to TV, I was looking for the next crop of people. And Wheeler Yuta was somebody, and I knew he had a great relationship with the Best Friends, and I thought he could come into AEW. And then the more I saw of him, the more I realized he has that dark side, and maybe he could learn more from the Blackpool Combat Club. And as he's seen, he learned a lot from the Best Friends, and then he learned more different things from the Blackpool Combat Club on top of that. And it's been a cool path he's taken to get here. Garcia, I originally thought would be great with the team I had seen. They had been called 3.0. They were called Everrise on WWE television, but they had once been called 2.0, and I thought that would maybe be a bit more appropriate for them because I didn't want Garcia to think, I didn't want people to think that Garcia was part of a trio because it was Garcia in 2.0, not 3.0, and he's one of the three. But I thought they'd be great as a trio, and I was actually looking for a cool new team to wrestle on TV and to build up, but also I was looking for somebody specifically that I thought would be cool to wrestle Eddie, Darby, and Moxley in a trios match on Dynamite, and that led to them, and I think that Menard and Parker, the 2.0 as they've been known and part of the Jericho Appreciation Society now, I think they've been great mentors for Garcia, and then later that Chris Jericho has been a great mentor for Garcia. I think he, like Yuta, might have, in another universe, learned a lot from the Blackpool Combat Club, but I also think the two of them have taken different paths, different roads, and maybe it's fitting that they're on parallel paths and they've crossed at times. They've both been the pure champion at times. They've had a great rivalry in Ring of Honor and a great rivalry in AEW, but certainly on the independents also, Yuta and Garcia. So I do, when I think of one, at times I do think of the other. They're both great young stars here. They're involved with different legends in the world of pro wrestling when you think of who they're both mentored by with Jericho compared to Moxley and Bryan and Claudio. But I do think they're both people who have a really bright future here, and it's a good juxtaposition to see two great wrestlers who have such a bright future with Garcia and Yuta being involved with two legends like Shibata and Tanahashi. Thanks.
Thank you. A few more from people who haven't asked a question yet. New questions?
I want to make sure people get them in, so I'll stick with you.
Hey, Tony, Brad Matthews with Bleacher Report. Just talking about, you mentioned, Ring of Honor TV, we're 5 episodes in now, obviously very well received so far, as you mentioned. So far, it's been approximately 2 hours per episode. Is that something that you plan to stick to, or are you still experimenting?
Well, it's great having the freedom. I think we've been able to deliver that. There's times where it might not be the right length, but that's the brilliance of having that creative freedom that I don't necessarily have when I have to deliver the exact same number of minutes and the same commercial breaks and the same length of break and the same spot, and I get to move the breaks around and the lengths of the breaks on TV, but you have to do those commercial breaks and there's no way around it. And it also changes things, and also on fixed length. Sometimes I can get an overrun. Can't always get an overrun. There's a lot of people excited to watch AEW All Access after Dynamite now too. So we have great things come on after the show. So you have to be sensitive to that. Now for Ring of Honor, it's a very different set of constraints. So I like the freedom, and I think 2 hours is felt right for the shows, but there's other nights where it might not. It could be longer or shorter, and that's good too. And that's one of the ways that Ring of Honor and the presentation is different from AEW, and I like that freedom. Thanks, man.
Okay, Phil, and then Rich.
Well, I've thought a lot about that. It's a great question. And now I have a lot more opportunity to do that. And I have thought about that. Now that I own Ring of Honor, I own that video footage, and that's a huge part of that library. And it was a great reason to make the acquisition. And so certainly something we can do. And I would consider that and have considered that. So it's definitely a great question you asked, Phil. Thank you for asking about it.
Rochester Edge Capacity Podcast. One is the event tonight going to be on the 3-month delay on Honor Club.
90 days, yeah.
90 days.
Yep.
And then two, with Ring of Honor and I guess with AEW, you could say, we've seen a lot of, I don't want to say free agents, but like we've had, some partnerships. We've seen Kingo, we've seen Commander, we've seen these wrestlers, and people get obsessed with you wanting to sign everybody. Like as soon as they see a wrestler on TV, they're like, when's Tony going to sign him? When are we going to see the All Elite graphic? Does that cross your mind? Do you get hung up on these signings, or are you happy kind of sticking to having people just kind of filtering in and out from all over the place?
Well, it depends. It's a case-by-case basis. There's a lot of times where it makes sense to sign somebody. There's a variety of reasons why you may do something on a nightly basis, or often through a relationship with another promotion. We have a lot of promotional partners we've done things with, sent wrestlers overseas to other companies, and brought wrestlers in from other companies in both AEW and here in Ring of Honor. So I think it's definitely an appropriate thing to look at the match, look at the wrestler on a case-by-case basis. There's some people we do want to sign. There's other people who we bring in from a partner, and part of what makes it a partnership is I'm not trying to always steal my partner's wrestlers, and I like, having that, and they know that if somebody comes here, I'm not going to try and pressure them not to work their shows or to work mine instead of theirs, because then people wouldn't want to partner with you if you're always doing things behind their back. So it just depends on the situation. And it's a great question, though. And to your point, yeah, you do see that. But I think it's what's great. When we started AEW, and that long before I imagined I would ever own Ring of Honor, I had mentioned that one of the great things about the launch of AEW, and now I think the prominence of ROH and myself being involved, and maybe in some ways deeper free agent budget and more of a budget for the Ring of Honor show and the product than there has been in the past. I think it's great. One of my theories on that has been proven true is that when AEW launched, we would create the strongest free agent market there's been in wrestling in a long time. And I think you've seen a lot of those things, and the events that have transpired in recent years have proven that theory works and it's true. And I believe that it's generated a lot of fan interest in wrestling in a good way, and really good that fans want to know what's going to happen, and people being excited about that free agent market. That's part of sports, and people want their teams to sign favorite players in the wrestling promotion you're a fan of. If you want to see more of somebody, you want them to get signed, but there's also other ways that people make frequent appearances too. And there's a lot of AEW wrestlers who do work certain shows overseas and they're not signed. We just do that on the relationship between the companies. So like I said, it's a case by case basis, but it's a great question. Thanks.
We'll just complete the graph of your life. We'll watch it and it's Fightful. So I wanted to ask you about the taping schedule as far as Ring of Honor is concerned. You've done 4 shows at Universal Orlando and then this past week in St. Louis. And obviously been promoting the fact that there's going to be taping alongside Dynamite on Long Island. And I think you're kind of implying that there might be one with Kingston.
Yeah, we are. That is yes, definitely both.
Okay, so I guess to bring the question around, do you see Ring of Honor staying with the AEW tapings, or do you feel like it's probably got more of a home inside of Universal Orlando, or do you see maybe eventually developing a touring schedule with Ring of Honor?
I think it's a hybrid right now. It's like we found good success. What we just did leading into this pay-per-view, I thought worked well, that we were able to have great tapings at Orlando and then do effectively a go-home show that also served the purpose to get some of the people that I wanted to feature on the pay-per-view who had international commitments here. So to get Shibata and Yuka Sakazaki and big names that might not have been available to be there in Orlando. And so it was another good reason not to tape all the shows. I think we got really, really positive feedback from the people that watched the first 4 shows that we did in Orlando, but also the people that went had a great time. It was a really successful live event experience. But then going into the pay-per-view, I thought it made a lot of sense to do a go-home show and have Yuka Sakazaki and Shibata involved and get them face-to-face involved in some of these big matches. And it created other opportunities to do a great match like Athena versus Sakura and have a big match on Thursday night to continue that tradition of big matches on WatchROH.com, on the TV weekly. And so I think you could sometimes see it side by side with AEW in big arenas, and also what we've got in Orlando with those fans was very successful. People really liked the first 4 shows, so I think you'll see that again too. So probably a hybrid like what we've done so far we'll continue to do. Thanks.
Anyone not ask Tony a question?
Bill, do you want to ask one more? You seem like you want to ask one more. Yeah, sure. No, it's fine. What do you had your hand up a long time.
It's nothing salacious. I talked to Maria Canellis-Bennett not too long ago. She said she had talked to you about potentially adding the Women's Wrestling Army to Honor Club. She feels like there's great synergy there. Any comment on that? And just having Honor Club act as a home for not only that, but just kind of building off of his question, more exclusive content that you can only find there.
It's a great question. And again, it's something I've said to Maria, just like, I mentioned before, that we've been really trying to scale up. And for the crew, it's been hard. And today was, just coming off Dynamite, AEW's crew is putting together a great Rampage for tonight. And there's great matches. And we had really a lot to do between putting Thursday's countdown special and a new show on Honor Club and then coming here. So to have 3 shows in 2 days is a big deal. So that's effectively what we had between episode 5 of Ring of Honor TV and Rampage and Honor Club. So the crew did an amazing job and battled through a lot to make it happen. And I think as we continue to scale up and do more, I'm really excited about the evolution of the TV of Ring of Honor and these new pay-per-views. And I'd love to add more things to Honor Club. One thing I've enjoyed about the Ring of Honor Weekly TV is being able to do more matches without the constraints of commercial breaks and bring in some younger, less recognized on a worldwide basis wrestlers that are very popular with the hardcore fans, but might not necessarily translate yet to great Nielsen ratings, and also some international stars, similarly, that I think a hardcore fan base is really excited to see. And this includes a lot of women's wrestlers that we brought in and matches that I've been able to do with no commercial breaks or time constraints. And Athena's been wrestling this crazy schedule. And to bring in a lot of stars, not only to wrestle Sakura, who's with us on a pretty regular basis, but is a legendary name and a match Athena really wanted to get in and have, but also then to be able to wrestle Yuka Sakazaki, that's a big deal. But now we have Yamashita coming in. So a lot of big women's matches, but not just the championship matches. I think up and down the card each week, we've seen wrestlers come in. Miranda Alizé had a great match with Willow tonight, but Miranda Alizé also had a really good match, Billy Starks. And then we had tremendous performances from Sky Blue and other names that have gotten involved here in AEW. Willow Nightingale had a classic match with Athena, and that was the main event of our second episode of TV, and that's one of the best matches we've had in Ring of Honor since I took over. So I look forward to doing more great women's wrestling matches, and whether they're on the Ring of Honor Weekly show or Maria's project, the Women's Wrestling Army, it's a great idea. It's another brand. We already have AEW and Ring of Honor, so to add another 3-letter brand on it is, I don't know if it necessarily is the perfect fit, to be honest with you, but it's a good idea. She has talked to me about it, and I do think adding a lot more women's matches and having international stars and top young stars that we're trying to develop for both AEW and Ring of Honor for the future, it's a really good mix we have going on right now to be able to bring in names like to have Sakazaki challenging Athena tonight, but have Yamashita in. I think that's tremendous. But a lot of the great young wrestlers we've been featuring too, Sky Blue and Willow have had a lot of TV time, but I think they continue to get better. And the more TV and pay-per-view matches I can give Sky Blue and Willow, that's really great for both companies, I think, because they have a lot of potential anywhere they wrestle, those two. And we've seen a lot of other names that have history in Ring of Honor that we've been able to bring back in to the fold. Young wrestlers we're trying to rise up, and people we bring in from all over the world. I'd like to really have all that on the weekly TV show we're doing, because like we said, often so far it's been about 2 hours in length, and there's a lot of time for great matches in that show. And also I'm already producing several shows, so what I do add, I would probably keep within the context of Ring of Honor on those shows, if that makes sense. So I would like to thank everybody for coming. This really means a lot. It's a really great group of people here in the room. It's a prestigious group of wrestling writers, and it's also a lot of really big wrestling fans. And I really appreciate you giving me your time and also the respect you showed. A lot of the people here today, they're people I really respect. So the respect you showed, from the top, from when we walked in here, to, of course, to Shibata, I mentioned it, the respect you showed him, I think he deserves it, and I appreciate that. And it was tremendous to be able to sit here with him, with Athena again. I thought your questions and everything about that was befitting of her championship status. Mark Briscoe, that meant a lot to be able to sit here with him, and I thank you for the time and dignity you treated that all with, and also to Claudio. And so I'm thanking everybody that made the trip, but also very excited what's to come next week. I just want to reiterate, I have a very important announcement on Dynamite. It's going to be a big one. And
How important, Tony?
very important. Very, 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 very. Multiple varies, although I only put one in the graphic, but it could have easily had another vary and a comma before it. And that's going to be really important going to New York next week. AEW's taken a lot of really positive steps, but ROH also has taken a lot of positive steps. And tonight, I thought, had one of the best events I've been a part of. And in so many ways, I think there were great surprises. There were hard realities that we all had to face in the ring and out of the ring. And I think tonight spoke to that's what life is. A lot of times it's hard realities, and you have to get up and move on. And we found that in real life, and we saw it tonight in our wrestling. I just really appreciate all being here, and thank you for coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.